Well, good evening. Happy Tuesday. I can't say I can say Happy New Year, although we 2 weeks into the new year, but Happy New Year again. Listen, thank you for tuning in tonight. This is the Leadership Edge, and I'm your host, Dr. P. Ronald Wilder. This podcast, the Leadership Edge podcast, is dedicated to talking leadership, all things leadership. We're not talking prophecy, nothing wrong with it. We're not talking politics. We're not talking any of that. We are talking strictly leadership from every aspect: religious leadership, educational leadership, business leadership, religious leadership, political leadership, athletic just leadership, because leadership is leadership. And we want to give you that edge that you need in your leadership to make you a better leader. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for being a part of this podcast. Now, listen, before we get started talking about leadership, you're watching me probably on BGTV Studios, either their Facebook page or their YouTube channel. Let's talk about Facebook for a moment. If you have not liked and you've not followed, go ahead, hit the like, follow. Definitely hit the share button. Go ahead and share this podcast so that the web of the BGTV Studios reach can spread far and wide. So go ahead and share. If you have not subscribed, go to BGTV Studios YouTube channel, which is BGTV Studios YouTube, and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Want to get those subscriber numbers up. Want to, cause them numbers to go through the ceiling, okay? And when you do that, you'll have access to all of the podcasters on here, some great men and great women of God, many of them friends of mine and colleagues in ministry who are the beneficiaries of the vision of BGTV Studios and gave them a platform for their message and their voice to be heard. Yours and mine, yours truly included. So I appreciate that and thank God for Brad and the leadership here at BGTV Studios. So go ahead, subscribe, like, follow, do all those things, and comment throughout the podcast. Okay. All right. Well, let's talk leadership. Well, we're in it now. We're in the year. We've been talking about the new priorities, establishing what you're going to do, what's important to you, what is going to take precedence in your leadership. Now, we were talking about implementing your priorities. We're talking about you got to ask certain questions. And the question you got to ask yourself is something like, who's responsible for this priority? What's the time frame? Once you establish a priority, what's the time frame that it's going to happen in? How long does it take? And do we have the capacity to do it now? Do we have the manpower? Do we have the resources? Do we have everything we need? Do we have the finance, the people, all the facilities to implement this priority? So these are all questions you got to ask yourself, and that's a very important one. Do we have the capacity? Because I've seen people come up with priorities and things they want to do. It's a great idea, but the problem is they don't have the capacity. They don't have the facility. They don't have the money. They don't have the people. That's one thing we do at Covenant. We look at it as a leader. Hey, can we pull this off? Can we make this happen? And sometimes we have to say, no, we don't have the resources. We don't have the people. Sometimes we have the money, but you ain't got the people yet. Sometimes you got the people, you ain't got the money. All that, So, you just have to roll with it like that. The key thing is to ask the questions. And then at the end of the day, how will we measure success? What will we call a victory? What will we call success? What will we call to say this implementation, this project was a success? You got to define that. You got to define it because why? Because no matter what you define it as, when you reach it, you need to celebrate your victory. That's part of leadership. Too many leaders don't celebrate the small victories. They only celebrate the big stuff. Okay? No, again, I'm a chaplain. You hear me say this quite often, and because I'm proud of the fact, I'm a chaplain for the Clay Chalkwood football team, state champions here in the state of Alabama, 6A football. We're the state champions. But you know what? I watched the coaching staff and I watched the players, most of the coaching staff on this, and you would think that the celebration would be once we score a touchdown. Everybody celebrates a touchdown. The whole fan jump up, touchdown. But man, they'll celebrate a tackle on third down that stopped the first down. Or they'll celebrate a play that caused the quarterback to rush his pass and couldn't hit his target. They celebrate everything, small and great, because they understand if I celebrate the smalls, it's going to bring me to the great thing I need, the big thing. You have to do that. So I watched them celebrate a punt. He punched the ball, the kick coverage, everything. No matter how small it is, if it's positive on their side, they're celebrating, they're jumping up, they're high-fiving, they're chest bumping, they're doing all of that. We have to learn that in leadership. Celebrate your victories. Celebrate your small wins. Sometimes no matter how small it is. Because again, it may seem small right here, but it plays a big part on down the road. Okay? So celebrate your small victories, celebrate your big victories. Now, we talk about communicating. You got to communicate to your team. You got to communicate to those, again, who are responsible, those who your key players, and they are designed to be a part of what you're doing to help you. Well, here's how you have to communicate. I talked about communication a little bit last week on the podcast. And so let's talk about communication again, because I said it's very important that you communicate, because people don't know what they don't know till you communicate it. If you don't tell them nothing, they don't know. You know, they don't know. You know because of communication. Okay? How many times have things happen and people say, man, I didn't know. You didn't tell me. Nobody told me. Lack of communication. Okay? So we talked about Carter and how that he said communicate to the degree of 100 and 1,000. We understand we have to communicate. We understand we have to over communicate. But now I'm talking about how to communicate. Not the fact of communicating, but how to communicate. Well, when you're going to communicate the priorities, number one, keep it simple. Don't complicate it. Keep it to a few words, a few sentences. You know, when we think of vision, we learned this in grad school, that vision should be something that your people can quote in a minute's notice. If you got a vision that's 3 paragraphs long, you're not going to be effective with it. Why? Because the average person is not going to learn a whole 3-paragraph vision. But your vision has to be in a sentence or so, to raise leaders for the harvest, to expand the kingdom of God, to develop a community of believers who model Christ likeness. You know, got to be something like that. Boom, they can hit it like that. When you're going to communicate, keep it simple. As a leader, you have to learn how to take the complicated and make it simple. So I heard John Maxwell say, he said, here's the difference between educators and communicators. Listen to this here very carefully. He said, educators complicate things. An educator will take something simple and complicate it. A communicator will take something complicated and simplify it and make it simple. So if I'm a communicator and I'm communicating to you, what I'm communicating may be difficult, but I'm going to communicate it in a way that is simple, that you can hear it and understand it like you're a 6-year-old. An educator will take something that a 6-year-old can understand, and they're going to complicate it to what can't nobody understand. Okay? So you got to be a communicator as a leader. Communicate. Make it simple. Use as few words as possible. That's in defining what it is. Okay? Make it memorable. Okay? If you're going to, an organization, make it memorable. In other words, it should be short enough you can put it on a T-shirt. You know, my good friend and apostle Stephen Davis, who pastors church here in the Birmingham Refresh Family Church, and he coined something that the Lord gave him called "I am the one." You know, and it's taken off in this church and and around the city, and so he has an "I am the one" service every month. I think it's the second Sunday, and they'll wear these T-shirts, "I am the one." So everybody around town got their T-shirts on, "I am the one." So what he's done is taken something and made it memorable and it's on a t-shirt. Now, if he said, I am the one because I am blessed and highly favored and God called you, then it couldn't have got on there. You can't put a whole sentence of a whole paragraph on a shirt and think people are going to read it. It's kind of like a billboard, okay? You ride by a billboard. A billboard is designed for you to be riding your car and you glance at it and you got the message. Boom, okay? You got the message. If I'm riding down the highway and there's a billboard for BGTV Studio, it'll say BGTV Studios podcasters get on board. Okay, boom. So you know that BGTV Studios is a platform that have podcasts and they're inviting you to get on board. That's all you see. I can see that riding in my car. I can be riding 80 and can see that BGTV Studios podcasters. Why not join us? Okay, boom. Okay, boom. Now he got up there, BGTV Studios podcasters for every kind of ministry. If you have a message and you want to be heard, you can't read all of that. You can't do it. You're not making it simple. So make it simple, something that can be put, if you want to put it on a shirt. Make it memorable. That's just communicating. So it's in their mind. It's in their mind. Raising leaders. That's our thing at Covenant. Raising leaders. Boom. Make it memorable. Okay. Here we go. This is important. Whatever you're communicating, and when you're communicating vision, have a stable vision. Now, we can take this from an organizational standpoint to an individual standpoint. Have a stable vision. Something that's stable. That ain't, although visions do change, things change a little bit. It shouldn't change dramatically, okay, and drastically. Something is wrong if your vision is changing on a daily basis or a weekly basis, okay? That's not vision. So although certain small things of vision may change and adjust, it doesn't change. I see people, they on one thing today. You see them 2 weeks, a month later, they on something else, and they on something else. They on everything. You can't do it. I've seen ministries lose their way. I've seen leaders lose their way. I've seen leaders lose their way because they on one thing that God has graced them to be, and then they'll see something else that look like it's more successful and people are using it, and they'll jump on board in that, and it doesn't work for them because they were never graced for that. And then they'll change that and go to something else. And it's always, listen, you lose your way. Find out what it is you do, what it is you are graced for, what it is God has given you. Stay there. Have a stable vision so people know this is you. That's you. Okay? You ain't from pillar to post. You ain't jumping on every new fad come along. And some of these fads come along and people jump on and they don't even exist no more. And you done lost your way over fad that's gone away. And you can't, and sometimes they find it hard to get back to where they're originally supposed to be. Have a stable vision. Be stable. My pastor and father in the gospel, Apostle Dana Holmes, who taught and trained me in ministry, who I love and appreciate to this day. Matter of fact, I've had him on this podcast. He was on here. When was the last time he was in Birmingham? We did several podcasts together. I think it was last summer. Yeah, last summer he was in town, and we did a couple of podcasts. And next time he comes, we'll film a couple more. He enjoyed it. Amen. He's trying to figure out how can he have a podcast all the way from Carolina. We have to work that out some kind of way. But anyway, but you know, his whole thing is Lord told him to teach the body, take the message of divine healing to my body. That God gave him that, man, 20, 25 years ago. He hasn't deviated. You know that's his own. I don't care where you go and where you talk to, man. He's going to be talking about healing. That's him. It's in him. It's stable. The people follow. He ain't jumped from pillar to post and done. He's there. He stays there. You know, stay where you're at. Stay in your zone. Vision shouldn't change drastically. And on a daily daily, weekly, monthly, or yearly basis. Okay? Then when you're communicating, you got to be patient. Now, this is to my pastor friends out there. It takes time. To pastors, if you've been pastoring any period of time, you know this is true. Church growth, and I'm not talking about numerical growth. Now I'm talking about growing spiritually, growing in the word, growing in the vision. Church growth is some of the slowest growth there is. Because you can be preaching something for 2 years, and after 2 years, they finally start. They ain't got it yet, but they just finally showing a sign that they done heard you after 2 years, okay? It's a slow growth. I've asked this question to pastors from every level, and they all agree. It's a slow growth. People take time, so you have to be patient, okay? If you jumping into this for quick success and a quick, because an overnight wonder is overnight blunder. I've seen stuff go up fast and come down just as fast. Because here's the problem. I remember some years ago. That's why you want to take your time and build. Because you got to lay a foundation. Okay? You ever notice when they building a house the first thing they do before they build a house is they ain't got no frame up. They don't have no wood. They take time setting that foundation right to make sure that concrete slab down there is right. It's everything. Because if that's not right, the whole house going to be compromised. I know of a church that they built and the foundation was not right. And as a result, after about 20 years, what started happening, the foundation started sinking. The church it's actually tilted. And in the basement, the back door had actually went down into the ground beneath where the concrete, and so the back door wouldn't even open. But it's all a result of a foundation issue that 15 to 20 years earlier wasn't done right. Okay? You got to make sure. I told you last week about how I used to paint. I remember doing a church one time, they were doing an extra part. They laid the foundation. The inspector came and told them something wasn't right. They had to tear the whole foundation up and start all over again. Because the inspector knew that if I let y'all build on this, it may look good now. It may look good to the outer shell. It may look good to people watching, but guess what's going to happen? What they're not going to see is the erosion that's going to take place. And in 25 years, this is going to be compromised because the building may fall because of this tension in this bad foundation. Same holds true with ministry. You got to build foundation. You got to build vision. You got to build foundation. Take time to build a church. It takes 5 to 10 years to lay a good foundation. Which I told someone that one time, and they thought I had lost my mind. No, it takes about that. I've done it twice. I know what it takes. It takes about that long to lay the foundation of a church. It takes about that long. But some guys don't want to wait that long because they want instant success and they want to be leading at a high level and having not paid the price. I told a guy this one time he had grown real fast and he was popping and he was popular in this town. He was rolling. He thought, man, I'm the dog here. And I said, it's great what you've done. You look. I said, here's the problem. Because you grew so fast, you didn't take time to build a good foundation. Because you're only a few years old, so you haven't done it yet. And you've established eldership and leadership, and y'all haven't built those covenant relationships yet. And so if you don't, you can either do it now, while you have voluntarily slow this train down and do that work, or you can keep on going and it's going to crash on you and you're going to have to do it. He looked at me like, who are you to tell me, what I'm supposed to be doing? Yeah. My ministry much bigger than yours. I said, yes, it is. I'm just telling you what I know because you're not laying the foundation. And not that you didn't want to, but you grew so fast, you didn't take the time to, but you need to do it. He totally ignored me, totally rejected me. I didn't take it personally. And within 2 years, that whole thing had crumbled. That whole thing crumbled. For the exact reason I told him. And it started in his eldership because they didn't have the proper relationships. They hadn't built the covenants, the foundations there. He didn't take the pay. He didn't want to take the time to slow it down. Everything was looking good from the outside. For the people watching and coming, they thought this is the greatest thing in the world. But it was eroding, and the tension was causing the building to tilt, and the foundation was crackling, and as a result, the building crumbled. And to this day, it has not regained the status it had. It's not. It happens. Take time. Be patient. Be patient. It takes time. Communicate vision and give people time to process it. Build. Stay the course. Stay the course of what you are supposed to be doing. Don't feel the need to rush. Don't feel the need to get ahead of God. Stay in your lane. Pay the price, because what you want at the end of the day is something that will last. Something that will last. Okay? Problem with us in America, and I'm going to close here. Problem with us is that we are so used to things going up. We want everything fast, microwave, quick. But there's a thing I teach in my leadership lessons called cathedral building. Now, we don't understand cathedral building because we don't have many cathedrals here in America. But do you know when they build a cathedral, they understand it's going to take 500 years to build it? So when they lay the plan out for the cathedral, they understand that we're going to need wood on down the road. They don't need it immediately. But they pick out a person who will be the woodsman who will get all the woods. You know what he does? He plants oak trees. Okay? Now, the Father understands, I'm going to plant these oak trees, but we're not going to need these trees for 100 years. He knows he's not going to be around for 100 years. So what he does, he gets his son and brings his son, and he trains his son growing up how to manage the trees. The son, when the father dies, the son picks up on taking care of the trees. He brings his son to help him and show him. So it's generationally passed down. Guess what? After 100 years, the father and the son, now the grandson's alive, he the one cut the trees down. It's called cathedral building. You build generationally. You take the time. He know, I'm not going to be here for the end of this, but I'm going to lay the foundation of what needs to be done. We're not going to need these trees for 100 years, but I'm going to make sure I plant them, get them started. My son's going to take it from there. Then my grandson's going to come, and he's going to be the one that cut them down and give them to the carpenters for the cathedral building. They understand it takes time. That's the point I'm trying to show you. It takes time. And now we got buildings, cathedrals over in Europe and places that's been around for thousands of years. Yet here we have buildings that can't stand but 2 decades. Why? Because we don't take the time to build like they do. You understand? We want it quick. And so if you build it quick, its sustainability is compromised. So don't be in a hurry to build what God's giving you as a leader. Even your own personal leader, take your time and allow God to process you and take you through the school of preparation. Amen? Wow. That's some good stuff right there. You know what? The clock didn't call it with me again. I got to go. We'll pick up in our next podcast. Hey, listen. Don't forget, visit my website, www.pronaldwilder.com. There, again, you can get my book, The ABCs of Leadership. It's there on your screen. You can see it right there to the left. That's the website address. Also, when you get on that website, go to my shop page. Pick up some of those leadership teachers, the Maximus Principle, Observations on Leadership. These are some good ones. 10 Keys to Making Decisions, the 10 M's of Ministry. There's a lot of good stuff out there that you can download. The best buy would be to get the bundle package, which I took everything's on that shop page, is on this jump drive that you stick into your computer, and you can listen to all of them all day long as you want. And this would be less than half of what it would cost if you bought all the other stuff as a download. This is your best buy. Be a good gift for yourself or someone else, so go ahead and grab it, okay? Listen, let's not forget BGTV Studios. That's what you're watching us on. If this podcast and these podcasters, if it's a blessing to you, I believe you have an obligation to support that which you feed from. This is good ground. This is ground that's very good. Okay, BGTV Studios is a platform that God has raised up for this day and this moment. Now, you're going to see the ways to give on the screen. There's the website, there's Venmo, there's Cash App. You can scan that with your phone, and it'll take you to them. Your information will not be compromised. Everything is highly encrypted. But I want you to consider being a monthly partner or give a good one-time gift. Every dime you give goes to BGTV Studios for the management and the upkeep and the running of BGTV. Podcasts like myself and others, we don't receive anything. We're not no percentage that we get. All what we bring in don't work like that. Matter of fact, we as podcasters support BGTV Studios because not only are we own it as podcasters, we believe in the ministry of it. So go ahead, make that commitment. Ask the Lord, let him lead you. Support BGTV Studios this year. I believe God will bless you. Okay? Amen. Listen, my time is up. It's been great. Can't wait to get back with you next week to continue the challenges of leadership. Have a great week. Have a victorious week. Lead at a high level. And remember, leaders lead and leadership matters. God bless you. I'll see you on next Tuesday.